Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of yours truly, Trisha. Today's topic is something that many moms like myself can relate to: mom guilt. To those of you who are not familiar with this term, mom guilt is that nagging feeling that creeps in, making us question our parenting decisions and feel guilty for not measuring up to our own expectations or societal standards. As moms, we often wear many hats and juggle various responsibilities, and it's easy to fall into the trap of mom guilt. I know I do often. However, it's important to remember that we're not alone feeling this way, and that's why I want to dive into this topic for this week's episode. I think for me, when I think about mom guilt, right off the bat, I think how it's finding that right balance between work and family. And you know what? I experienced this mostly, I think, with Harper being my first. It's not always easy to be present for our kids while we're also trying to meet our work responsibilities. I think, after my mat leave with Harper, it was really challenging going back to her. I remember the first day crying, thinking like, am I a bad mom for going back to work? And, obviously time helped, but it was a hard transition for me because I also wanted to have adult conversations. I wanted to use my brain in a different way than I had over the last 12 months of being on mat leave. So yes, that mom guilt really set in. Another example is when it comes to self-care. I think a lot of moms can relate to this. When we think about self-care, for me, self-care is working out. It could be meeting up with friends. It could be going to get your nails done, whatever it is. Self-care really, when moms go and take care of ourselves, we often feel guilty about it and think, we should be at home with our kids, or, maybe we could be doing something else at home versus having some alone time. And, I was just saying to a friend, not that we get over it, but I had to really be cognizant of that mom guilt and tell myself that if I don't take care of me, then I won't be the best mom I can be to my kids. I won't be as present. I won't be as patient. So that's how I kind of got over that mom guilt when it came to self-care. Another example, and I face this often, even when we think about when I talk with Emil and it comes down to our discipline and parenting style. Sometimes I feel really guilty with how I can discipline them. And I am the harder one, I would admit, than Emil. And, sometimes I can second guess or question myself about some of my parenting styles. But, I can't say I'm perfect, and none of us are, but, we learn, and, sometimes we realize what works and what doesn't when it comes to parenting and discipline, and every child's different. So something and how I speak to Harper when it comes to discipline and how I speak to Noah could vary because they're just two different kids, and they respond differently and they react differently to the way we speak to them. So there's also, and I think I get this a lot, it's, the comparison game, and we feel guilty for not being able to do things that maybe we hear other parents are doing for their kids or want to be able to provide something. We feel that guilt. And I think, how I deal with that personally is I remind myself that, my girls just need me and they just want me, and it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. And so if we keep that top of mind, I think it's, it really helps with that mom guilt and keeping it at bay. And then, there's always going to be moments when we fail, where we think we've failed as a mom. And I think in those moments, we just have to take a step back and say, we're doing our best. We're going to take it one day at a time. And the best thing that we can give our kids is really our presence and listening to them. And I think I said this before in another episode, is that, we can't pour from an empty cup. So we really have to take care of ourselves. And that mom guilt, I don't believe will ever go away. I mean, Harper's 10 now, and I still feel it sometimes. And, I think I just remind myself that, mommy has to take care of me, and that way I can be a better mommy. So I hope this episode helped. And I hope if you are experiencing mom guilt, that you can give yourself some grace, take it one day at a time, and remember to take care of you. Thanks for listening.